What's up, friends? Today we're painting the easiest abstract Christmas tree. This one will make a great Christmas card design, and it's so much fun. You can do these in as many different varieties or colors as you'd like. My paper today is Fabriano Artistico 140 pound hot pressed watercolor paper. The hot pressed paper is really fun because it's so slick, the paint will just slide across the surface, creating awesome effects with your watercolor paints. You just need some watercolor paint for the tree and 2 colors of opaque paints for the ornaments and sparkles on the tree. I'll be using Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White for the sparkle effect, and for the ornaments I'll be using Winsor & Newton Primary Red. For your brushes, you just need an angled shader brush. This one is a 1/2 inch brush. You can see it has a nice angle on it, and a smaller brush for painting your ornaments. Make sure you have a water jar and a sponge or paper towel for blotting, and a good dose of patience because the hardest thing about this painting will be waiting for the layers to dry in between, but there's no sketching involved. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's get into it. Start by mixing up a generous amount of paint. I'm using a combination of Hooker's Green and Ultramarine Blue, both Daniel Smith colors. You can see I have a large puddle of paint on my palette, and I'm actually mixing up some extra blue on one side, a little more green on one side, so that the colors have some variety to them. I've loaded up my brush with tons of juicy paint. Starting at the top with the tip of my angled shader brush, I'm beginning to do some zigzag motions with my juicy paint, grabbing more as I work, and then spreading out my brush even wider as I work my way down the tree. The goal here is to make a really quick, loose, messy tree and then just leave it alone. Now let it dry all of the way before this next step. Now it's time for some white sparkles. I'm taking my Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White, loading it up with lots of paint and water, and gently tapping my brush over the tree to create the effect of snow or sparkles, whatever you want to interpret it as. I think it just looks really cool. The spatter effect is one of my favorite things for adding a fun and whimsical look to any painting. Before I continue, I wipe off the excess spatter. Next, take your small brush with just a little bit of water on it, and you can spread out some of those spatters to make even larger spots on your tree. Because these are going to dry a little bit darker, they're going to look like blurry lights. I think it looks so cool. The next step is our red ornaments. Make sure your white is completely dry before you do your finishing touch here. I've squeezed out a generous amount of my Winsor & Newton red gouache onto my palette, and using my small brush, I paint on as many Christmas ornaments as I'd like. Painting small circles can be a little bit tricky, but don't worry, they don't have to be perfect. Remember, this is a fun abstract illustration. Just have fun with it. You could even change up the color of the ornaments. If you have some yellow gouache or blue gouache, you could add multicolored ornaments to your Christmas tree. I wanted to keep it simple with just a couple of colors, but of course use any colors you'd like and try this as many times as you'd like. You can see it's a pretty fast project, so this is one of those designs that you could paint over and over again for personalized Christmas cards for your friends and family. When you're working with opaque gouache, just make sure that you're not adding too much water in, or it could dilute the paint. Unlike watercolor, which when it's diluted looks lighter in value, gouache tends to look darker, especially when you're painting it over the top of other colors when you water it down too much, so make sure your paint is nice and thick. Here at the end, I'm just adding some tiny little dots of red for some extra texture and variety for my finished tree. And there we go, there's the finished abstract Christmas tree. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Check out this next video and I'll see you over there.